Attention, everybody. The views and opinions expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Axe Ministry, Axe Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits.
And good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Friday again. It's your host, Johnny Rooster, on the Morning Mouth with my ever-trusty companion,
Pastor Matt. Pastor Matt here.
So it's Johnny Rooster, Pastor Matt, on the Morning Mouth. That's what you're listening to here on Axe Media Group. And we are ready to come at you with something amazing.
Coming at you.
It's the name, No Name. You remember that a horse with no name, but we have no name up on the board, don't we?
That's right. No name.
No name?
No name.
Well, this is a name. This shall remain nameless for a reason. There are naming rights that are going nuts here, and I'm going to talk about that because if you guys notice,
That's one way to say it.
there's a lot of weird stuff out there with the names and renaming, and people don't like the original, and so they have to rename.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of stuff that offends folk.
Hypersensitive culture we live in. Maybe we should all wrap ourselves in bubble wrap. I think we could roll around and not be offending and painful. I don't know. It's just getting
Bubble
a little
wrap.
bit, little bit tense and a little bit awkward.
How dare you pop my bubble wrap?
Yes,
That is not right.
So we have a lot of name issues, and one of them, there's a lot of sports teams that have been put in the category of indigenous peoples are no longer being represented properly, and I don't think they ask the group of people that they are affecting.
Yeah, it's not even the group of people that
It's
they're
the
affecting
other
that's saying
group. That's right.
It's a majority.
You know, I've actually been out in the Southwest, and they have the American Indian Association, and they're fine with that. The Native American Indians are good with that name. They don't care.
Well, and somebody tried to change the name of like Apache helicopters.
You're kidding.
And the Chinook and things like
See,
that. It's like, look,
now
those
they're
are
taking away the dignity of
those are
these
named for power.
cultures. Yes, the
those
power.
are like the toughest. The Apache helicopter is the most deadly helicopter that there is.
And you're not naming sports teams for passiveness and
Right.
and wimpiness. It's for strength
yeah,
and power.
it's supposed to strike
If
fear.
you are full of power, you need the name.
Fear. It's supposed to
Yes,
strike
right.
fear in the name
You
of
hear
your
the-
opponents.
You hear the pounding of the tom-tom, and you're afraid.
yeah,
That's it. The
yeah.
chop is fearsome. It's
Yeah.
mighty. It's
The-
not
the
supposed
war
to be.
drums,
I
man.
can't get this out of my head that people are taking away the power and the dignity of the intended name.
Yeah,
Just
and it's,
because they might be a culturally offensive category. That's not
it
even.
seems
not
like a
even true.
majority of the people that are offended are Caucasian.
The crazy Caucasians are offended. I hope you guys can pause that and rewind it and play that again. The crazy Caucasian.
No, I should take that as a soundbite.
Yeah. The soundbite for the crazy Caucasian. I
Like,
want you
what?
guys, when you're scrolling by, stop clicking off. Stay on this time, okay? This is Johnny Rooster. We're doing the name thing, a big circle / no name. You know why? Because no name is better than this weirdness. These sports teams are getting ransacked by naming rights.
Everybody's getting offended.
Let's
and it's,
rename everything. You know, there's a popular company that does cosmetics, and they took out the word whitening. They took out whitening from their literature. They can't be whitening anybody's teeth anymore.
What?
I'm so offended. I've got whitening in my teeth. I don't know why I've got that voice today. It's
I don't
just,
know
This
either.
is my voice of offensiveness.
That's your what do they call?
It's the rooster
What do
cackle.
they call that? The rooster Karen. That's
It's
what-
my Karen. And Karen's offensive, too, because I got
yeah.
a friend named Karen, and she's not so sure she wants to be a Karen.
Well, no, Karen is not specifically a name.
Well, I know, but it
It
still
is-
became a thing.
It
and
has.
people named Karen don't
It's-
really like it, and
it's
so the
blown
Karens,
up.
the Karens of the world are really getting reactionary. They're going Karen on it.
Yeah.
My name's John. Johnny, the bathroom. Come on. So people have been dumping on my name for many
In
many
your
years.
name.
In my name. I'm going to the
Not
John.
to mention peeing and throwing up.
Can you imagine going to the mat when you need to do your business? See,
Well, I
that's-
mean, then you'd be a puppy.
Think about it. Yeah, the mat. But the
I'm
floor
offended
mat.
by that.
We could all be we could all be busy being offended. But here's the no-name thing. What if you just rename all your sports teams for a generics like the Kansas City football team? That's the name of the team.
Okay,
Kansas City football team.
Oh yeah. Is that?
Is that offensive? the Kansas City baseball team. Just call it where they're from.
Yeah,
Now,
because
if
the problem
Kansas
is
City becomes like St. Louis is offensive. People really did want to change the name of the city of St. Louis. Did you hear that?
No.
That's not a joke. The things that I think are funny
What?
as jokes are real. People are offended
It's like,
because
this is-
Louis XIV was where they were named, and he is offensive from the history. So you dig up from hundreds of years ago, you get offended about it in 2020, and you change the name for your own. No, I'm not kidding.
I know, that's crazy to
The
me.
funniest, stupidest things that I used to joke about are really playing out.
Yes. Yeah.
So
that's like, wow.
naming rights are just going crazy. I've got some names here that I wanted to just put out there. Like, if you started a bar, like a tavern, why not call it the Pickled Liver? See, I'm coming up with clever,
Yeah.
ready-to-go, ready-made names. Copyrights are
It
open.
says what's going to happen if you go there all the time.
Pickled Liver. Welcome to the Pickled Liver. How may I direct your call? You know, if they're real fancy.
That's a fancy
Yes,
cocktail lounge
the
there.
Pickled Liver. Do you
Thank you
have
for calling the Pickled Liver.
reservations for the Pickled Liver?
Yes, the pickled liver indeed.
Another thing I'm thinking about is, what if you had a new car? There's lots of cars that have names. Can you imagine the Ford Fiesta? The first time they said, let's have a party only small. A small party, the Ford Fiesta.
The Ford small party.
So we were going to think about the Cadillac. Could come out with an Ego. The Cadillac Ego. It's a good name for a car.
Yeah, and
It would play out. It's like, I've got the Cadillac Ego. You got the old Suburban. I've got the Ego. I'm driving my Ego.
that's really cool. Like naming things for what they represent.
Cadillac Ego. I've got the Dodge Bullet.
Like instead of
Wouldn't that be a good name for a pickup?
instead of the Camaro, instead of like the '87 Camaro, call it the mullet.
The mullet, yeah, the
Chevy
Chevy
mullet. Yeah.
That's perfect. And you know, you got that. You got the '80s feel. You got the hair going. Business up front.
I
the
hope we
party
don't
in
get
the
in trouble
back.
for saying all these names on the
But
air.
you know what? You got to think about it. If we got a new car and we call it the Cadillac Ego or the Dodge Bullet, that's the new 4x4 pickup. The Dodge Bullet. You're gonna dodge the bullet.
Right.
But it just sounds rough. It sounds cool.
Yeah.
But just think, what if we got offended about our car names? Ford, now that was a president. He was a Republican president. Going back to, we're calling about Gerald Ford was a president in our history.
But except for it's named after the
Let's just
man
say,
who.
of course, but
his last
they
name was
don't
Ford.
get that part.
No.
They're all offended about he's Republican.
People died in fording the.
And you can't ford a river.
People
That's
forded the
so-
river and died in the
Yeah.
Oregon Trail.
Yeah, so
but that was a video game.
So they should go raging against the company Ford.
Oh, yeah.
And Chevrolet. Is that really a French word? It's American.
Is it?
Why did
I
they
never
choose
really.
Chevrolet?
You know, Johnny.
LET?
I never even thought about it because it's not that
Well,
big
the
of a deal.
word Chevrolet is a L-E-T. It should be. It's a Francais. Did they make them in France? No.
Like the samurai.
So
Those are good.
I'm confused. These names are confusing.
What does
If-
Nova mean in a certain language? Does that
I
mean
thought
no
that
go?
was- well, yeah, and Supernova. It's in the stars, and then we got a Chevy Nova. But we're talking about naming. See the big sign that says no name? You see that?
That's right.
Did you switch back
there.
and forth? Like,
I
hi, I'm Johnny Rooster, and there's
well, it
Pastor Matt.
stays in the same place
Okay.
above the ATM.
But I mean,
regardless.
are you doing any?
I'm trying
switcheroo
to.
schemes?
Yeah, I'm trying
Because
to.
this is an interactive show. We want you guys to jump in and put in your comments about what name would you give a car if you had a brand new breed of car. It doesn't even have to be Ford, Chevy. It could be a new brand of car. It's not here yet.
Yeah.
What would you name it? Give it a good little go here. The Saturn was a cool name. I'm gonna say that. That's
well, the
kinda
Saturn
cool.
is the company now.
Yeah, but it's kind of a neat name for a company. The Jupiter could be a car.
They that was
Is there a
started
car?
by a bunch of Chrysler employees that left.
They were
And
on the rings.
They thought that they could build a car better.
Well, there's always room for new ideas, and we're talking about naming. Remember when the Washington football team was under attack for the name of the team? Well,
Yeah.
think about all the other teams that are now under attack, and think about the ripple effect and how awful that would be if you had to rename everything.
They're setting precedents.
What we're going to do on the Morning Mouth right now is screech on the brakes, put it in reverse. Do you have a rewind? Let's hit rewind. Be kind, rewind. And we're going to go all the way back to the beginning of time We're going to cancel all of our cultural sensitivities. Now, travel with me. We're going to go backwards, so let's just travel.
They're calling this the cancel culture now.
This is, yes, we're going to go thousands and thousands of years before the cancel culture was invented, because I
Right.
don't like, I didn't vote for the cancel culture.
No.
I didn't put in my vote for it. So we're going back to Adam and Eve. Remember the beginning. God created
Yeah.
all right, now here's Adam. He's got a job, and God says, what is his job? Name the animals. Now, there's no
Yeah.
cars, there's no civilization, but there's animals. So, Pastor Matt, with me, imagine what it would have been like to name a donkey when you heard it. Do you have a donkey sound? Can you
Let me see if I can do this.
get it?
I
Yes, we like
all I got.
lots of noises, and when you guys are scrolling
think
by
I've got that sound somewhere.
online, I want people to stop in their tracks and stay with us.
Yeah,
Because
here.
here's Adam, the first
Really
man.
making an ass of myself.
Yes, the Adam is the first man, and he's doing this
Get it?
donkey thing. He sees this thing, and he's going like, do the sound again. This is Adam. He's like standing there,
That's all I got. I'm
and
not
then
very
he's
good
like,
at whistling anymore.
and he's like, donkey. What would he say? What an ass.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, how can he? How do you name that in the Hebrew? What is the Hebrew word for ass? Because that's what he called it.
That's exactly
you
whatever
saying?
it is. I mean, yeah, ask the animal. Now, we're using it in the proper context here. Now, so therefore, I don't think it's offensive because it does say that in Scripture. Of course, in a lot of the
Of
newer
course, people
translations.
could be offended by that.
Yeah, be like, oh my
Let's
goodness.
just go cancel culture.
It's like we're not talking about the body part, the slang for the body part,
We're
mind
talking about the animal,
you.
the
Animal,
donkey.
the donkey, the burro.
Now, let's say he sees an armadillo.
Could you imagine seeing that for the first time?
That would be not a fun sight. You know, I had one in my yard the other night, and he's been digging up everything.
They're armored possums. That's all they are.
They are a possum on a hard shell.
Yeah. So if you flip them over and you just kind of set them on the fire, they just, cook that way.
I have kicked an armadillo, and folks, trust me, do not kick an armadillo without steel toe shoes.
No.
That hurts so bad. I thought I broke my toe.
And you know what?
Those things are strong.
Yeah, and it probably just walked away like nothing
He just
happened.
looked at me like, "What are you doing?" He just went a few feet, and he's like looking back at me like, "Biggie, no biggie." But my foot was like, I thought
Throbbing, probably.
I was hobbling around like, "Why did I kick him?" I'm gonna do my voice. Why did I kick him? I'm a Caucasian. I'm very offended. I don't even know why I came up with that today, Matt. But
I don't know. It's great.
we are talking about no name. We're talking about naming and of sensitivity and going back to the beginning when Adam had to name the animals. He's looking at this weird sounding critter and he calls it a donkey. What about the animals with no sound? We got rabbits.
Platypus.
Gerbils.
Could you imagine naming the duckbill platypus?
Yeah, how do you get this, you know?
I don't get it.
I wonder how
That's
long
probably
it
one of the
took
weirdest looking
Adam,
creatures
and I
on the
wonder if
planet.
he forgot what he originally did. So does he have writing? Did they write back then? You know, these are questions that aren't answered.
No, we'll know. We should know. Whenever we die and we go to heaven, we'll
We
be
got you.
able to. I think that's stuff that's actually just known.
Who is that first written language? You know, was Adam just calling it out, and then he's like, "How do I remember this name? What are you again?"
There was probably some writing involved.
Okay, that's in our
There's
imagination.
a form. There's got to be a form of communication where you can save things on like tablets and stuff like that. Maybe clay tablets.
Yeah,
or
think
something.
about naming something. Can you imagine if you're the one naming all the animals? Come on, that's not a small job. No wonder Adam had to live 930 years. It took him a long time to do stuff.
I name almost all the shows that are on this network.
You just got to come up with name after
know,
name after name.
Yeah, it's everybody that talks about. And usually, I try to listen to what people are saying about what they have, their ideas for shows and things like that. Now, you came out with the Morning Mouth, I think.
Yes, I had that idea.
And then
Yes.
you did that beautiful artwork with the rooster and the microphone.
Johnny Rooster's my name,
Yeah.
and Morning Mouth is the show.
Yeah, because I think we were going to call it like Rooster Mouth or something like that. But then everything else, I've tried to listen to what people were saying about what they want to accomplish with the show. Like we've got a new show starting tomorrow, or not tomorrow, sorry. It started yesterday.
Did you come up with a name?
I did.
Because you've already aired it, so
Yeah, I did. It's called A Penny for Your
a
Thoughts.
penny for your thoughts.
Now,
so a
the
little
reason I
take
call
on
it
a
that,
popular phrase.
well, the lady that's doing it that from now on, her name is Susan Abar, and she has her testimony. She's defeated cancer. Well, God has defeated cancer for her, pancreatic cancer.
That's awesome.
But something to do with a penny that she stepped on, picked it up, and it said something along the line, where all it said was "In God We Trust," and then she was healed.
Yeah.
Of that. So that's part of her testimony.
A penny
So
for
I-
your thoughts.
penny
in
for your
God
thoughts.
we trust. It's all on the currency.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
current.
Until people have been trying to get that taken off of the currency as well.
There's so much cancel culture going on here. We're talking about naming.
And they're not
how
doing it because they're
names-
offended either, John.
No, they're doing it with another agenda.
They're doing it just because they want to force people to do stuff. It's
Yes.
not the fact that it doesn't really offend them.
No,
They're just saying it because
you guys got to realize this. When people are changing names, it is for a different purpose.
Right.
It's not because they're offended.
yeah, I mean
Nobody's offended by the word whitening.
nobody
Nobody is. And
except for the
just-
people that are offended by it, which
But
is
what do
crazy
you think,
to me.
Pastor Matt? What do you think a big company that sells millions of dollars worth of products would have to gain by changing the word whitening out of their culture?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is whitening is the process of what it's doing to your teeth.
Yes.
It's not changing the racial ethnicity of the person who's
it's
doing
absurd.
it. It is absurd.
It's
It's
not
like
even. It's all right. Here's a name that I do not understand, but I enjoy. Grape nuts. I know I've said a name, but there's no grapes and there's no nuts. That's just a ridiculously. That's like saying
it's grains.
plastic sponge. I mean, you could call it anything. It
Yeah.
has no meaning. Grape nuts. It's two different types of food that don't.
It's two words
Apply.
that are really great separate, and they're even better together.
Why is there some weird names out there like Xerox and stuff like that? It just
Spelled with an X.
Yeah.
Who in the world
funny
made
names.
the X sound like a Z? That's what I.
Go through your head. I guess we're not supposed to say all these brand names, but there's lots of brands that have no real meaning. Can we say them?
Well, I mean, I don't think we're really supposed to. But,
Okay,
I mean,
so-
it's too late now.
We already said it.
Yep, we already did. So I do run into. Oh, I did let you guys know that the views and opinions expressed on the show are not
Yeah.
necessarily those of X
No.
Ministry, X Media Group, and or their affiliates.
Johnny Rooster
nonprofits.
And the Morning Mouth are all about throwing things in your direction, throwing it like, whoops, whoops, I didn't know if I like that or not. Some people like it, some people don't, but it's different. The idea here on this show is to be different than what you normally hear.
And we're not trying to offend people, but you got to admit, those of you out there, if you, and one thing I got to say, Johnny, whenever you start, like, not you personally, but in general, whenever a person, like my cousin was at work and he was talking about God, and one of the girls that he worked with said, I don't want to hear that stuff at work. And he turned around and he said, okay, you got to be careful telling people what they can and cannot
Yes.
talk about, because
Hear, hear.
I don't want to hear about your partying and
That's
all the
right.
stuff and all your drinking, and I don't want to hear the cuss words. So if you tell me what I can't
That's
say, I can
right.
tell you what you can't say. That's why it says in the scripture, Johnny, about judge not lest you be judged.
That's right.
That's not telling you not to judge. That's telling you lest you be judged.
Yeah.
If you judge
If you're
somebody
gonna judge,
with
then
a
you're gonna
certain
get
harshness,
judged.
you're going to get judged,
Yeah.
and it also gives that person the right to judge you back as harshly as you're judging them.
Yeah, I was watching a popular kids TV show from many years ago on DVD, and they talked about exact words in one episode. And so the son and the father had this exchange, and he goes, I didn't really know you meant that. So they held him to it because he said, I want to use the exact words. And after a few days of that, the kid decided, I don't want to use exact words. I want to go with what you mean.
Right, because I mean, they say the English language is one of the most difficult languages to learn. Besides like
A lot of words sound the same.
Japanese.
Sometimes they sound identical with different meanings.
yeah, like I mean, come on, bologna is spelled Bologna, Bologna. We call that baloney. What? That's just a bunch of baloney. Is what it is.
baloney is what it is. But we're talking about naming, and you remember how people got offended by certain names in the sports world, and now they don't want these names. Can you imagine being the people that created these sports for power, and they do have a good meaning, and then somebody many years later decides to destroy that and take it away just because they're pretending to be offended?
Well, these people that are doing
where
this,
does it stop?
the
Where do we
people-
stop this rupture in our system?
well, the people are trying to force them to do something. That's going completely against what we're about here in the United States of America. We're about freedom to do what you want to do when you want to
Yes.
do it. And we could talk all day about that kind of stuff.
We're not talking about the Sears Tower being renamed for a new owner. We're talking about people being offended by some group of people that they don't belong to, that they're not really offended, and they're changing.
They probably don't even watch
They're
the
doing a
particular
cancel,
sport.
what we call a cancel culture. Some people aren't familiar with that. Can you explain them exactly what's going on in our culture in 2020?
Well, what it is everybody are wanting to, and it's all about power. It's about somebody trying to make somebody do something that they don't want to do.
They're canceling
They're
what
canceling-
they feel could be objectionable to somebody, even though it's not objectionable to that somebody.
Well, that's like
That's what's weird
people are
about
out there desecrating these monuments, right? And somebody,
Like George Washington.
yeah, or the
Christopher
143rd Battalion was desecrated by a particular. I don't want to use the name, but
What
let's
in the
just.
baloney is all that about?
But what's really bad about it is they showed underneath that there was a picture of the actual 143rd Regiment or whatever it was, and they were all African American soldiers.
Yeah, it's just cuckoo.
And that makes
they're,
no
they're
sense.
doing it in the name of racial justice, and
Yeah.
they're actually
They're
desecrating.
separating everything.
They're desecrating the very people that they're trying to protect.
Yeah, claiming to protect.
I think it's
Now-
bizarre.
Yeah, it is bizarre,
But we're talking about names, and remember,
and the world is
names-
crazy right now.
Names have gone out of control. Earlier, I mentioned some cars. If we had new cars and call it the Ego, the Bullet, there's really cool names. If you think of any cool names, I said the Pickled Liver for a bar. That'd be funny, actually.
You could get instead of the smart car, call it the never get a date car.
Never get it. Yeah.
Never get a date?
Never get a date.
Never get a date.
Nevergetadate.com.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but you know, I guess you probably get there are people who
I mean,
get dates. Those things
There's
get like
so
40,
many.
50 miles a gallon.
Well, I guess if the date lives far away,
Yeah, that's
you're
true.
trying to save on gas.
Call it the long distance relationship.
We also mentioned Adam, the first man created by God, put on the earth, and his duty was to name animals. Imagine if Adam was around today and he had to name products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Come up with new names for everything. Like, I believe in the future, children will be named inanimate things like Neek and Zork. I believe they're going to have these names that don't sound like any name because traditional names will be offensive and they'll be
come here, Fadaddle Paddle.
they will be Karenized. Okay.
Okay.
The new names will be like Ina or Zoki.
Oh
It'll
yeah.
sound like something from a different culture because it's so culturally irrelevant to have names like John, Steve, Mark, and
Oh, yeah, those
Bill.
are-
Those are so.
Those are gender identified.
Ooh, yes.
da-da-da-da-da-da.
You don't. You need a very neutral name. Your child must be named Econ, and nobody else has that name. It's their name, and it's no last name because last names are so patriarchal.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Women can't take men's names.
Oh,
See-
yeah.
See, I'm being
And
sarcastic,
last I checked,
but it's
it was
really
up,
not
it
that
was,
bad.
It was up to the woman to decide if she wanted to take the man's last name or no, or hyphenate. I think okay, so
naming is getting a bit insane.
well, yeah, and the thing about it is, your last name.
Put in your comments if you guys agree, disagree,
Yeah,
whatever. I want to
absolutely.
hear, what do you think of these quasi-name, in the name of cancel culture?
Yeah,
Can we stop the nonsense? Are we
Yeah,
going to
please.
stop the bleeding in our culture of
Yeah.
the nonsense? Where will the nonsense
there's way more important things to worry about than
I
the
want to
name
put
of a football team.
a new word, nonsensory. That's a new word for me.
Nonsensory. That is
I
the
need to stop the nonsensory.
the end product of nonsense, nonsensory, or the action of
It's in the-
causing nonsense. It's
if you're
nonsensory.
in the higher British culture, the nonsensory.
Nonsensory. It's
the-
right up there with debauchery.
The ultimate nonsensory and debauchery.
Yes, I like that.
The-
We got 2 minutes left.
This is so cool because it just seems like we just got started.
We did just get started.
And
it
it's
seems.
fun because what we're doing here, hanging out with you, watch this thing. It's called No Name because people have name issues.
Yeah.
And if you realize that grape nuts has no meaning and yet it sells millions, then,
Peanuts.
then we can throw out
You're
any
not a
name.
pea or a nut.
Yeah,
Peanuts.
yeah. There's so many things that are named weirdly.
That offends me.
I'm so offended. Why
Because it's
don't
not
you-
a pea. It's
why
not a
don't you-
nut. It's
I'm-
my offended.
I'm driving the Ego.
It's actually more a bean. It's a
I'm
legume.
gonna drive my Cadillac Ego to the Pickled Liver.
To the pickled liver. Hopefully pick up a
Eating-
date from a
chomp-
girl with
chomping
a
on my-
long distance relationship.
Chomping on my grape nuts.
Oh man.
Man, don't get those in your teeth.
No. No, they'll break your teeth.
Well,
if you're
we're
not
going to
careful.
come up with some new music in the near
Eventually,
future.
yeah. Yep.
For now, we got this tune by Pastor Matt, and it's called I'm Forgiven. I like to go out with it because it's got a powerful message and a good hook, and it is Friday
It
morning!
is Friday morning.
And it's the Johnny Rooster and Pastor Matt and all of that. And if you got a name, come on, put those comments in there. Don't be shy. Throw in the name for your kid. Like if you had this new kid
The
that did
craziest name you
Yes,
could possibly think of.
no gender specificity, just a weird kid name
That sounds good.
and a weird car name. Let's hear them. I love your ideas.
That's a good deal.
You
good
guys
deal.
are awesome. Thanks for watching.
Well, thank you guys for joining us this morning. Be sure and tune in next for the happy hour with Dr. Paul and Nancy Collins.
That pickled liver and happy hour don't go together.
No, that's what causes the
Yeah.
pickled liver.
Exactly.
So,
I'm happy every hour.
bye,
Adios.
everybody.